Hey, this is Pablo again, and in this video we're going to take the robot character to the next level by tweaking some of the materials. So let's go ahead and start by selecting the visor of the helmet and make sure that the ray tracing is enabled so that we can see all the good stuff about this material. Now from the interior settings of the material, let's enable the switch of subsurface scattering and you'll see the effect straight away. Now you can play with the scattering color to add a sense of depth and volume inside the helmet. You can tweak the scattering distance as well to adjust the intensity of this effect. Now I'm going to show you one of my favorite things about 3D Stager. Let's go ahead and zoom into the face of the tiny robot and select the black shiny material. This guy has no eyes. However, we can use an image to place a graphic over the material. So from the resource folder, you can go ahead and literally drag and drop the bot pet eyes PNG right on top of the face. This image has two circles for the eyes with transparency, and you can use the circular manipulator to rotate and scale the image to place it wherever you want on top of the material. How cool is that? I'm also going to select the ring object around the face and tweak the emission material so that it matches the color of the eyes. You can click on any color swatch in 3D Stager and you can use the eyedropper tool to grab any color from the scene. The next really cool thing you can do with materials in Stager is to control some of the material attributes with black and white images. For instance, if you go to the image tab on the assets panel and scroll down, there are some grunge textures. Let's select the blue plastic of the helmet and drag and drop a grunge map into the roughness little plus icon of the material properties. This basically tells 3D Stager to make areas that are white less shiny and areas of the image that are dark to be more reflective. You can also go to the top of the material properties and under the transform section, click and drag the values in the repeat section so that you can tile the grunge map and adjust the size of the details. What's even better is that you can click on the image you have assigned to a material property and click on the pencil icon to edit it in Photoshop. So for the sake of demonstration, I'm just gonna click on that, open up Photoshop and invert this image using the Ctrl-I command. Then click on Save and go back to Stager to see the updated image. Let's go ahead and quickly repeat the same steps and add variation roughness to the feet so that they're not perfectly smooth. Now to start wrapping up this project, we can get into the lighting setup. Make sure that you have ray tracing enabled so that you can see the real effect that the light has on the materials. So from the third icon on the asset library, there are a few environment lights already set up for you. You can just literally drag and drop new environments into the scene and see what it does for the model. Some of the shinier objects like the visor will help you to see the reflections of the environment a bit better. To rotate the lighting and environment around, you can hold the Shift key and then left click and drag on the viewport. You can also go to the physical light and drag new lights to adjust the scene. For instance, you can drag a spotlight on top of the head so that there is a bit of a highlight and add emphasis to the character's face. After tweaking the light color and the intensity from the properties, we can set up the final shot for the render. Let's go ahead and go into the render camera. And from the view menu at the top of the interface, we can hide these grid lines. From the environment tab, you can go to the background and click on the swatch to change the color. Then we can simply switch to the render mode at the top of the UI and set the preset to high. Make sure that the camera we want to render is selected and give it a file name. And that's it. Let's click render and wait a bit. Once the render is finished, you should have a very cool looking image like this. And if we were to open this in Photoshop, you'll see that it comes with a few layers. And this is my next favorite thing. The background color that we set up in Stager comes as a fill color in Photoshop, so we can click it and completely change the color after the render. Not only that, we also have some colorful layers for material and object mask selection, and this is really cool because we can use the select color range in Photoshop to isolate pieces of the render and create custom masks. I can select, for instance, the body of the tiny robot and add a hue saturation effect with a mask and completely change the color of this guy after the render. Alright, that's it. I hope that this has given you some ideas on how to render with Adobe 3D Stager.